All right, this week's player debate, this week's 1v1 is going to be on a player that is near and dear to my heart. A player that if you've watched our streams, you've seen me draft at an incredibly high rate. A guy that I have over 50% exposure to in best ball right now. Maybe I should tone it down a bit, but how can I when he is the clear-cut best value in fantasy football right now, Gabriel Davis.
So, Gabe Davis, best value in fantasy football, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I just want to start this off by saying I don't hate Gabe Davis.
Why do I feel like some hate is coming right now?
I like him as a player, but I've been seeing you tweet that him and Diggs are a top 5 wide receiver duo, and he's the wide receiver 2 on the Bills. I think that's just clear-cut false. That's just clear-cut fake news. They have Diggs, alpha wide receiver 1. They have Cole Beasley, who's still going to get targets. They went out and signed Emmanuel Sanders for $6 million guaranteed, who are all going to play above Gabe Davis. If we're just looking at the OTA minicamp rumors, Sanders is operating as the Bills wide receiver 2 currently. I would personally project for all 3 of those guys to have more targets than Gabriel Davis for 2021 if they all stay healthy. See, I know you hate old people, so that's kind of where your bias is against Emmanuel Sanders. But like I mentioned, they did give him $6 million, and what that tells me is he's going to be involved in the offense. He's going to have a good role no matter what you might think or other people might think. That's just the situation that he's in. If you look at his athletic profile, if we're just looking at him as a player, nothing impresses you. He's not fast. He's not overly athletic, but I will say he's attached to Josh Allen and a dynamic Bills offense, which will give him value, I think, in best ball. He was number 7 in the NFL in both ADOT and yards per catch last year. So what that tells me is that he is a deep threat, and that's a valuable role, right? Especially when you have a big arm quarterback in Josh Allen who's willing to chuck the ball down the field. But I will say he was 84th in yards per route run and had a 56% catch rate and only a 10% target share last year. What that tells me is he was getting the shots downfield, which is good, like I said, but he wasn't very efficient with those targets. And this is just a player that the Bills specifically want to use in that deep threat field stretcher role. If we're taking a look at it right now for 2021, Gabe Davis is the wide receiver 59 on an underdog. Do I think he beats that? Yes, I do. But I feel like there will be more floor games, more 2 to 5 point games than there will be 20-point games with Gabe Davis, and I think that's just what it ultimately comes down to. Just to sum it all up, people are just over projecting what his role will be in the Bills offense for 2021 with 3 other people there that will see more targets than him.
All right, here's the thing. It's cool and all that Emmanuel Sanders is running ahead of him in June. Come September, this dude Emmanuel Sanders might be in the nursing home. He's 34 years old. Cole Beasley's 32. They're old as dirt. Let me take a wager on a nice 22-year-old sophomore receiver coming off of what is honestly a season that is not getting the love it deserves. He had 35 receptions for almost 600 yards and 7 touchdowns. 1 less touchdown than Steph Diggs had on 104 more targets. 3 more touchdowns than Cole Beasley had on 45 less targets. John Brown is gone. Despite being injured last year, John Brown played on 75+% of snaps in 8 out of his 9 games. Gabriel Davis makes the most sense to step into that role. He played on over 60% of snaps in 10 games as a rookie, and if you look at his snap share towards the end of the year, he's an every down player. 7th in the NFL in average target distance, 7th in the NFL in yards per reception, 17.1, which is an absolutely elite number. Like you referenced, he's a deep threat. 9.7 yards per target. That's top 20 in the entire NFL. He steps into the John Brown role. He becomes the clear-cut number 2. He becomes the deep threat. We saw it in week 17. He made us a bag off those 2 receptions for 107 yards and a touchdown against Miami. And it just comes down to Gabriel Davis is that dude. Yeah, he might have a couple 3-point games, a couple, 6-point games, but he's going to drop you a couple 20s, some 25s, and you can get him in the 12th round. I think he's an absolute value, and he's attached to Josh Allen, potentially the biggest arm in the NFL at this point, and he is the clear-cut deep threat. Draft him.
I do think he is the deep threat for the Bills, but I don't think that is a role that's going to see 7-8 targets per game. And that role didn't see that last year with Buffalo.
But that role was split with John Brown, who's leaving over 50 targets behind. Is Emmanuel Sanders going to step into that role at age 34?
I mean,
we know Cole Beasley isn't.
If you just look at his game logs, 100% of snaps without John Brown in week 12. only 4 targets. 97% of snaps in week 13, 4 targets. 92% of snaps in week 15, 5 targets. 98% of snaps in week 16, 5 targets. So realistically, what is his target projection on a weekly basis with 3 other wide receivers healthy that are going to be on the field? No matter what you might think, they are going to play Cole Beasley and they are going to play Emmanuel Sanders. What's the realistic target projection? 4, 5 targets per game? And if those are deep targets down the field, yeah, it's valuable because, you want those spike weeks and he's capable of scoring long touchdowns, but more often than not, they're probably not going to be touchdowns, and they're going to be a lot of unrealized air yards and a lot of empty targets.
I just got to disagree. I mean, Davis had more red zone targets than John Brown and Cole Beasley, and he was right in the same range as Diggs. So I don't know. I think that Davis has the role. He's going to get deep targets. He's going to get red zone targets, and attached to Josh Allen, I'm going to continue to draft every bit of Gabriel Davis that I can.
Thanks for watching, everybody. If you're interested in hearing the full conversation, you could go down below in the description where we have links to the DFS Dose podcast on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, and then we're also on some other podcast sites. So make sure you go ahead and check out the full episode that this conversation was a part of. Subscribe to the channel if you want to help us out. We're at like 167 subscribers or something like that, so help us reach 200. And then you can also leave a like on the video. Those are just some ways to help us out, help us grow. So let us know down below what type of content you want to see out of us, and if you guys want to continue hearing these clips from the conversations on the podcast. So let us know down below in the comments. But thanks again, everybody, for watching. We appreciate you. Have a good day. Thank you.